And now it's time for the introduction of the beat 'em up game you think of when you think of Super Nintendo beat 'em up games. Turtles in Time. Nah, Final Fight. Capcom's Final Fight was an arcade original and the first we'll cover on this series. However, its arcade scene was over fast as both sequels were released for the Super Nintendo only, much like Streets of Rage had a trilogy on Sega Genesis/Mega Drive consoles. It's pretty simple as expected. You have a 2-button attack and jump, and you can use both to your advantage as you maul down enemies. As well as a maneuver, if you're close enough to the enemy, you will pick them up automatically and you can slam them against other enemies for increased damage. The story is that Mayor Mike Haggard, a former Street Fighter, gets word that his daughter has been kidnapped by the Mad Gear Gang. So he teams up with Cody, her boyfriend, and Guy, his friend, as they go on an all-out destruction across the city to rescue her. It should be noted that Guy isn't in this game, but more on that later. I bring up this plot to show why I like this game so much. I'm not a huge fan of beat 'em ups. They get stale quickly, which makes sense, they're made for quarter play at arcades. So I was ready to dismiss Final Fight as just a fine beat 'em up. It gets the job done. But what keeps me playing is the wackiness of it all. You're playing as a gigantic former Street Fighter who is also the mayor of the city, beating down punks who kidnapped your daughter. There are some scenes where some gang members are just sitting around waiting for you to show up or are on the ground doing something. One of the common enemies is an Andre the Giant spoof. You fight a katana-wielding swordsman in a boxing ring, and the classic bonus stage where you destroy a car by punching it and the owner comes out crying that it's destroyed. Hilarious. So for that reason, I do stick to Mike Haggard. He's the slow but defensive powerhouse. A warrior, if you will. And there's Cody, who's in between of Haggard and Guy. He's not terrible, but he dies really fast. I just stick with Haggard. Now, a lot of people don't like this port, which can make sense. A lot of stuff was removed. Guy, as I mentioned above, a few levels, and the worst, 2-player mode. It makes sense, this was an early release, and I think I could ignore the 2-player mode, seeing as I'm a loner, but the lost levels will surely be missed. I should say I don't love the game, but I think it's still a worthy time if you can't play the arcade original. It's good enough for me. Now, before I end things, I should talk about Guy. A few years later, Capcom released a version of the game with Guy in it, replacing Cody. Well, we can't have everything. It's mostly the same game with a few added things in it. If you want a faster, but weaker person to play as, look this up. I mean, it's only over $200 because it was a Blockbuster exclusive. Anyways, we gotta get a move on, because we moved from beat 'em ups to arcade's second favorite genre, shoot 'em ups with Gradius 3. See y'all next time.